Hey YouTube, we Prash here. Today we'll be discussing the never-ending debate about piracy of anime and how the community has changed over the years. So just to get you all started, I think a brief history is in order. This video is really a reaction slash response to the whole Mother's Basement and Uniquenameosaurus videos. And I do think that both of them have some valid points and criticisms regarding the topic, but I believe I offer a unique perspective here, being that I'm a 100% pirate through and through. Before we begin, I think to make it easier on me and you guys, we should divide the video into three parts. Three different reasons why people support illegal streaming sites and torrents. First is the common one. It's not available to me legally, so I download it illegally. Second, the money argument. I'm poor, so I pirate. This is definitely the larger community out there, the group that is too poor to even get subscriptions like Crunchyroll, Netflix or Verve. The third is the least used argument, and that is streaming services are just not good enough. Be it the problem with simulcast or the issues with exclusives. Netflix has Shokugeki, but I have Crunchyroll subscriptions, and Crunchyroll has Naruto Shippuden, but Netflix doesn't. That thing. Okay, so those are the three reasons, but before I break down each reason individually, here's my point of view. This is where I'm coming from. I think that both Mother's Basement and Uniquenameosaurus tend to lean way too much on the third reason, whereas in my opinion, this is more of a West specific issue and is not a true representation of the global anime fandom. And I'm not saying that we should not debate this, but looking at the other two reasons is just as much important, if not more so. And I think that the availability and money problems are a pretty big part of why people pirate stuff. Okay, so now let's break down each reason individually. Reason 1. Availability. This is less of an anime specific issue and just more of a streaming service issue. Consider the sheer amount of anime produced or will be produced. It would be unreasonable to assume that Netflix would offer you all of the anime ever made. And even if you combine all the legal streaming services, Netflix, Crunchyroll, Verve, Sony's new streaming service, Hulu, even together they could not offer you all the anime ever made. To really understand this point, we need to take a step back and look at the movie industry. Not every movie that was ever made is currently on a streaming service right now. In fact, there's an entire community out there dedicated to finding movies that are currently not available to stream and is at risk of being lost to time. Case in point, if you wanted to watch the Super Mario Bros. Movie, you cannot find it on any streaming service right now. And the only way to really watch it is to buy a DVD right now, and you can't expect people to go out and try to find a physical copy of it. I mean, even if they do, what are they gonna do with it? My PC doesn't have a DVD ROM, neither does my smartphone. It will be useless to me and many others. However, it is available to torrent right now on multiple sites. The same goes for anime. A lot of anime are either unavailable or only available on discs, like it's 2010 all over again. This is where fan communities really shine, and this is how it was back in the day. Fans would take shows that aired in Japan or were only sold in Japan with the Japanese language, no English subs, and they would sub it themselves. That's how the fan sub community was born. And speaking of which, I think the fan sub community is still one of the most underappreciated communities right now, even with anime being so mainstream. Example, look at the case of Kaizoku fan subs and the One Piece community. One Piece has this word they use a lot, nakama. The word doesn't have an English equivalent, and for so many years it was being wrongly subbed as friend or comrade. Both words do not do justice to the original Japanese word. So in one of their encodes, Kaizoku fan subs explained the meaning of the words and how certain words would only work if they were said as it is in Japanese, as something like you would say Onisa and not Big Brother, things like that. One Piece at the time was unavailable in subs and was only available in those bad English dubs. And for 6 years, Kaizoku subbed more than 300 episodes for the community. It's sad that a lot of the fans in the One Piece community don't even know that name anymore. Sorry, I didn't mean to go on a tangent there, but I just thought that I should remind the anime community of the heroes that first introduced us to anime. I'm comfortable with using the word heroes there. Even if you even if you did manage to buy a DVD of your favorite anime that isn't available for streaming, they'll never have that care put into their subs as the fan sub community does. Oh, one more thing. And even if you do manage to get a DVD that does have good subs, it cannot be shipped to many far off countries, and in order to import them, you end up paying a pretty big premium on them. I mean, I can buy Bible Black on Amazon right now. Wait, can I? Hold on, let's just check for a moment if I actually can get this on Amazon. Ah! Holy shit! God damn it! Oh god! Oh god! I love how they put anime series in the title. Real nice. Sorry. Time out. So, anyways, the point I was gonna make was that even if I do get it off of Amazon, it'll cost me like $20 extra just to ship it to my country. And paying $20 on every single DVD that I purchase for every single anime that I want to watch is pretty unreasonable. So to summarize, reason 1, availability doesn't just mean that I can't throw my money at it, because even if I did, there's no guarantee that I would end up with a good product, and even if I did get it, I would end up with a physical DVD, which is going back in time if you ask me. And of course I would overpay for that DVD as well. Reason 2, cost. Money, the source of all my problems, and everyone's. You can't discuss piracy without discussing money. I mentioned how even if you do have the money, you sometimes end up overpaying it just to import physical copies of an anime. But what if you don't have that money to begin with? Here there are 2 subcategories to this reason: DVDs and subscriptions. Subscription services are great, but some of us can't even afford a single service per month, let alone multiple services, which seems to be the correct way to enjoy anime to its full extent right now. Okay, so let's say I bite the bullet and I get a subscription service, Netflix, for $7.99. And for the most part, if I'm comfortable with what Netflix has to offer, and they do have a pretty decent selection, if these are the only anime that I want to watch, then it's great. It's actually a pretty good option right now. But if their competitor ends up having an exclusive anime, then I cannot afford to get another subscription service. Instead, I'll just end up pirating them, which isn't ideal, but even with the subscription service, piracy is still going to be there as an option. You pay $20 to $60 per anime per DVD, and that's clearly a lot for the average poor person. These little things add up over time. Even people with actual jobs and not bums like me would agree that this price is somewhat expensive. Example, India. India has recently gone through this technological revolution. India has a huge population of over 1 billion, and a lot of them didn't have smartphones for quite a while, let alone laptops, DVD players and things like that. But recently, with the availability of cheap Chinese smartphones everywhere, everyone in the country practically now has a smartphone on them. But even then, they couldn't connect to the internet or go online because 3G or 4G services were just insanely expensive. Then about 2 years ago, a communication company in India launched Jio, their 4G nationwide network with dirt cheap rates. And now everyone in the country is connected online via their smartphones. The reason I mention India specifically is for them, DVDs are just simply not an option. They cannot buy physical copies because most of them don't even own DVD players. Their only technological connection to the internet and to the world is a smartphone. And before you say, oh well, they can just get Netflix on their smartphone, here's the thing. Either the average Indian person can pay $5 a month for their ISP, or they can pay Netflix $8 a month and then not use their service because they cannot go online. It's little things like that that most people don't consider. To summarize reason 2, people are poor and you can't tell them not to pirate. What you may consider pocket change is someone else's paycheck. Piracy is unavoidable if you have no money. Reason 3. Now this is the big one. Service quality. This is the debate that most people have been, debating. And the reason I made this entire video, I find that this is essentially a phase 2 to stopping piracy. Phase 1 being making sure people are not poor and that a wider variety of anime are readily available. But then this isn't a topic about piracy. The service quality reason is more of a streaming service issue and not a piracy issue. Let me explain. High Dive is dead, thicc is dead, Anime Strike is dead, which, good, fuck you Bezos, you don't need any more money from us. Streaming service, just a random jab at Jeff Bezos. Streaming service either take the Netflix model and dedicate themselves to all media, movies, TV show and anime, or the Crunchyroll model where they only cater to one audience and that's the anime audience. The Netflix model is far more stable as you only offer anime as a part of your service and not the whole service. The Crunchyroll model from an anime fan's perspective is somewhat better but though not perfect, since they only cater to this smaller audience, so they either overcharge you or offer subpar services. Latter is the case right now. And of course they are always under the constant threat of being kicked out of business by big corporations like Netflix, Sony and Amazon. There is also a group of people out there who don't have access to certain subscription services like Verve because of geo restrictions. They cannot view their favorite anime due to being located in a country where the service isn't available. But for the most part, the community doesn't see this as the primary issue. Instead, they are more concerned about the countless older animes or the more niche animes that won't be coming to legal streaming sites, or just the exclusive fuckfest that's going right now. Now let's take a look at both of Mother's Basement and Uniquenameosaurus's arguments around the whole inadequacy of streaming services. Jeff from Mother's Basement, he mentioned High Dive being a great option, but I think High Dive's dead, or maybe their site layout is just so terrible that it seems that way. But I'm pretty confident that High Dive is dead now. Let's just say High Dive is dead, and if not, someone grab a shovel and put it out of its misery. Whew. Okay, putting that aside, let's take a critical view of Jeff's video. Earlier in his video, he makes this statement.
It's always been about entitlement, plain and simple. Pirates just don't feel that they should have to pay for their entertainment, and they perform some Olympic caliber mental gymnastics to justify that. There is no good reason to pirate anime.
Now, this is not a good way to start a video. He comes off the bat very aggressively against anyone who pirates. And this just shows that he is not open to the idea of having a proper conversation, and that he only intends to look at this from one single point of view and not change his stance no matter what the other side argues. This just means that it's not a video arguing or defending or even giving you a good view on anything. This is just a rant. And here's why I think this is nothing more than a rant. Throughout this video, you can tell that he's lashing out on Kiss Anime. Sorry, Hug Anime. This entire video is not what it wants to be. Instead of being this video full of logic to counter any poor arguments made by pirates, he just fixates on this one thing, on how People aren't paying because people are entitled, and how Kiss Anime is making a lot of money off of piracy. And that's just not the case. If you even wanted to understand his point of view, you would need to trim down this entire video and then watch a previous video that he did on Kiss Anime just to understand where he's coming from. And as a subscriber of his, I can understand that he made a poor video, but he does have a genuine concern around the topic of piracy. But to the average viewer, he just comes off as this dick who doesn't understand anything. People shouldn't have to watch his previous videos just to understand what the hell he's trying to even say in this single video. Okay, I think it's time that I get you all up to date on this whole thing. About a year ago, Jeff makes a video where he tries to figure out how much money does Kiss Anime make by illegally hosting anime on their site. And he mentions how they just sometimes rip off of Crunchyroll, they have poor quality videos and ads and blah blah blah. And then a little while later, around a year ago as well, Uniquenameosaurus makes a video where he argues why you should pirate anime. Then in February 2018, Jeff makes a reaction video to Unique's video, but he doesn't admit that it's a reaction video to him, and he basically goes on this rant about how pirates are entitled and selfish and blah blah blah. Then about a week ago, Unique makes a video where he responds to Jeff's criticism, and it's an hour-long video where he breaks down all of the arguments made against him, and I think it's a more cohesive video than Jeff's video. One of the problems that is with Jeff's video is that he thinks that piracy is just Kiss Anime. That's it. That's his only view of anime piracy, which is very uneducated of him in my opinion. Seriously, there is a huge pirating anime community and only a fraction of them use Kiss Anime. I mean, torrents are the superior method and torrents are the way to go. Any hardcore pirate torrents his anime. No one actually goes to Kiss Anime. Jeff seriously thinks that the piracy is limited to just Kiss Anime, but that's not really true. And it's not just a case of pirates being entitled to something, it's a genuine community based around their love for anime. Example, BakaBT. BakaBT used to be an anime torrent site. And seriously, legit, horrible subs, don't even come close to them. This was a true fan endeavor, a site dedicated to hosting anime in high quality, lossless from different fan subs, and not just anime but manga, hentai manga, and the original soundtracks as well. This was the community's answer to Kiss Anime. Unfortunately, I can't show you screen caps of this site as it has gone private. I was a member for a short while and then I got banned because they had this one rule where people needed to seed as much as possible. Seeding, for those of you who don't know, okay, I'll just explain torrents as quickly as possible. Okay, basically, let's consider person A. He has Naruto season 1 on his laptop and he can choose to upload it to a torrent. And if a person B wants to download it through torrents, as person B starts downloading it, person A starts uploading it, and eventually both person A and B will have a copy of Naruto season 1. Next, if a person C wants to download Naruto season 1, then as he downloads, person A and person B will simultaneously upload half of that anime. This ensures faster transfer speeds and also ensures that if, let's say, person A's laptop is powered off or his internet is down, person C can still get that anime from person B. The downloader is called a peer and the uploader is called a seeder. The more seeders there are, the faster you can download. Fans would essentially end up paying with their bandwidth, with their internet essentially. This is the short version. So since I downloaded a lot and didn't upload as much, I got banned from the community. Last year the community did go private, and honestly I don't know if the community is just dead or a private group now. Sorry, I went on another tangent there, but I believe without the knowledge of such sites and communities, you cannot get a good idea of how big and what kind of community the anime pirates are. The anime Kaizugudan is far bigger than just Kiss Anime. Speaking of Kiss Anime, I actually have a few friends who use it, and that's just because they don't know how to torrent or they don't know of a better way to watch anime. All of us agree that Kiss Anime is terrible, the video quality is terrible, and the ads are annoying. But they do offer a service. This is one of the major problems that anyone who first hears about anime and wants to watch anime and ends up watching them illegally, they don't understand that Kiss Anime is essentially taking advantage of them, or at the very least that Kiss Anime is making money off of this illegal activity. And you have to explain to them how torrents work so they get a better understanding how torrents are a much safer and a less bad way of pirating anime. It doesn't help that the first thing that appears when you search watch anime online is the second thing that appears is Kiss Anime. I hope Jeff sees this, and I would love for him to rethink his original position. Now moving on to Mr. Unique of Uniquenameosaurus's channel. He is, I think he's a communist. I mean, he doesn't make a good argument for not being a communist. In his first video, he argues how legal streaming sites are just stagnated and refuse to innovate. But in the second one, he goes full China.
China.
Like intellectual property is anti-competitive and monopolies and oligopolies and that kind of a thing. And he also argues that Nintendo should have made Breath of the Wild available on other platforms to be genuinely competitive. Meaning, if you could play Breath of the Wild or Pokemon on Xbox or PlayStation, then Nintendo would have to make an actual effort to make a good console to compete with Sony and Microsoft, instead of making an underpowered console with a mediocre playing experience, just cause people who love Legend of Zelda and the Pokemon franchise will be forced to buy an entire new console for just one game. Now you can disagree with him, or maybe you agree with him, and that's your opinion. But other than his rant on monopolies and oligopolies, the rest of his video is actually a genuine critique of Jeff's video. So Jeff loves Crunchyroll because he uses it and they sponsor him. But that doesn't mean that Crunchyroll is a good streaming site. They are a money first business like many others, and I think that's the point that Unique tries to get across. That Crunchyroll, despite them trying to be this fan community, they are still a business that runs on money, and their actions are essentially dictated by money. Okay, so just to give you an idea of how Crunchyroll is money based, check this out. If you go on Crunchyroll right now and you look up an anime that they currently don't have, they don't tell you that we don't have this anime or you can't watch it on Crunchyroll because it's unavailable or whatever, we couldn't get the rights. Instead, in a weird move, they say it's unavailable in your region. So I'm thinking, thank God, in that case I'll just use a VPN to spoof my location and it's still unavailable. Crunchyroll seemingly doesn't want to admit that there is a lack of offering on their service. But why? I mean, people are gonna figure out that they don't own the rights to Dog Days Season 3 or whatever, right? Why pretend that they have it? They even have a start watching and an add to queue button. Why is there when they don't have the anime? This is just a case of a company trying to maintain this image and not making themselves look bad just because they don't have an anime that you like. Be it Crunchyroll's lackluster interface and website or Netflix poor search capabilities, I know Jeff, to a certain degree or not, agrees to the shortcomings of streaming services. Streaming services aren't perfect, and for the most part, people getting more than two is just not a good model. I mean, after all, Jeff himself made a video about how Netflix is killing good anime. He made it, so he understands how lacking streaming services are currently and right now they mean the same thing. And here I actually agree with Unique when he says drop all sides and instead donate to Animators Dormitory Project, just to show that we want to support the creators but not Crunchyroll or Netflix. So this was okay. Speaking on supporting the creators, I could not confirm this, but when Crunchyroll says they support the creators and then they license anime, they don't mean the animators, right? Because when they license something, some of it goes to the original creator. Let's say if they license Naruto, then a part of it goes to Kishimoto, the creator of Naruto, and a part of it goes to the production company or the publishers who made the Naruto anime. The actual animators don't actually get a cut of that money. If anyone knows the answer to this, feel free to leave it in the comments below. I would genuinely like to know this. Because if that is the case, then donating to Animators Dormitory Project is a much superior method of supporting the industry than Crunchyroll or Netflix. In my opinion, of course. On a side note, I do think that the ideal way to deal with something like this would be to have Crunchyroll or Netflix offer this subscription model where they have a certain anime and then you can just pay for that one single anime. Maybe they ask for a little more than that, but to just be able to buy a digital copy from Netflix or Crunchyroll without subscribing to them, I think that would be a much better system. Maybe this is somewhat of an unrealistic solution, but I do think that this would counter a lot of the problems with piracy right now. Or they could have it on YouTube for free with ads. Maybe that would be a better idea. Again, just spitballing here. I think this video is already getting way too long, but before we end this, I wanted to point out the sheer shit that is One Piece. Not the manga, but the anime. The anime is just horrifying right now. Okay, story time. A while back, I wanted to buy One Piece legally because I do rewatch it occasionally, and having something with me that I can just play anytime I want is much better than being able to stream it or whatever. First of all, One Piece isn't available for streaming, so the only way you can legally buy One Piece is to buy it and then watch it. But here's the thing, One Piece is only available in DVD quality, which is 480p. This should be a crime in 2018. We live in a 4K era and people are selling 480p discs like it's 2005 all over again. Okay, so instead of buying DVDs, I'll just get the Blu-ray version. I'll end up spending a little bit more, but at least I'll get a good product, and if I save little by little, I'll eventually have the entire One Piece collection on Blu-ray, and then I can just pop it on my hard drive. I know I said I don't have a DVD player, but I was considering buying one or a Blu-ray player if I do end up buying the One Piece Blu-rays. Not gonna happen now though. Wait, I'll explain. So I found this site that ships from Japan, and check this out. Multiple listings of One Piece season 18. That's because they end up dividing each season into multiple parts. Now before you even argue that One Piece has currently 865 episodes and they have to divide it into parts, yes, I get that, but how many episodes does a single part even have? Let's check the listing, and it's 90 minutes. So that means 90 minutes. So that means that each part comes with only 4 fucking episodes. And when priced at $48, that essentially means $12 per Blu-ray episode. And we aren't even talking about shipping charges yet. So, god damn it. I mean, so in order to watch the entire series right now, all 800 plus episodes, that is not in a quality, that's potato. An average fan would need to pay over $10,000 just to see all this 865 episodes. We aren't even talking about the movies, the special, and the remaining One Piece episodes that are gonna be coming out in the future. $10,000 just to watch an anime that you like. Oh, and it gets even worse. If you look at the recent One Piece episodes, they do this very greedy thing where they pad out an episode and stretch it out as much as they can. They do this in order to squeeze out as many episodes as they can from the manga. Meaning, with the newer episodes, you end up getting less than 15 minutes of actual anime per $12 episodes. And the reason Japan can charge you so much for this is because they are essentially preying on those hardcore anime fans. They know that fans will pay for this, so they charge for this. And to that, I say, fuck you Japan, I'm just gonna torrent it. This market is clearly trying to take advantage of its fans and I'm not comfortable with it. So yeah Jeff, if you ever needed one good reason for why we should pirate anime, this is it. This is all that I had to say on this topic. I hope some of you at the very least found it interesting enough and maybe you got some new knowledge out of it. And to those fans who actually do use Kiss Anime or some similar site, I will say please don't do that. As convenient as it might be to you guys to use something like this, I would suggest trying to figure out how torrents work. Torrents are very easy and it's a more fan-based community. People who make torrents don't really make a lot of money off of it. Some of them do get fan donations, but they aren't there to rip the companies off and make money off of you watching illegal streams. I'll even put some of the links below so you can get started. Seriously, don't support Kiss Anime. I really appreciate that. Thanks for watching, and since it's my first video and poorly done at that, I'm sure there's only 3 of you right now who actually watched it to the end. Thank you very much by the way. One more thing. I like both these channels. I do like Mother's Basement's content. I think it's a great content. Any anime fan should at the very least watch some of his videos. In that one particular video, he does come off as a dick, but if you watch some of his other videos, you'll get a much more accurate representation of what he's trying to say. As for Uniquenameosaurus, I recently subscribed to him. Only watched a few of his videos, but they look great. So feel free to check him out as well. I'll leave it in the links in the link in the bio. So thank you and see you next time.